Diddy's children have been called to testify in court after he was caught lying during his bail hearing. In a leaked phone call to his son, Diddy reveals shocking details, and the darkest secrets of some major Hollywood figures are starting to surface. This is quickly turning into the next Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Stay tuned as we uncover exclusive footage of Diddy caught lying in court.
No deal that the U.S. Attorney's Office can offer, and it's certainly not one that Diddy will accept. It would involve decades in federal prison. We're talking about mandatory minimum sentences of 10 years for both the drug charges and the trafficking. So we know that Diddy has fought charges before. There were state charges, there were gun-related, the nightclub shooting with J-Lo, but he's going to dig in his heels, and this case is going to trial. So if you're prosecutors, you really want to make sure that your evidence is bulletproof before you go down that road.
Diddy's son, Christian Combs, has been summoned to court after Diddy was caught lying during his bail hearing. Allegedly, Diddy's lawyers claim that he is attempting to silence witnesses, and if released, he could pose a danger to others. Diddy has a history of witness tampering dating back to the 1999 shooting case involving Jennifer Lopez. It was suspected that Diddy played a role in trying to cover up his actions, which ultimately led to an innocent man being jailed, while Diddy continued his illegal activities.
Are you okay? Are you feeling okay?
And I hope your mom, your old grandma got better sleep.
You know, the victim, one of the victims said that Diddy shot her and that, you know, he fired his weapon.
Right.
And there are ballistics that support that multiple weapons were fired. My position is I was defending myself.
Yeah.
I was not there to say that, you know, Diddy had a weapon and that he shot anyone. I was just defending myself. Unfortunately, he didn't handle it that way. You know, he got witnesses to get on the stand to testify against me and lie.
Yeah.
You know, we should have stuck together. We should have told the truth, which is that we were defending ourselves. And he didn't do that. But I moved on so long ago because when I was complaining about, you know, what an evil person and terrible person I thought he was, at the time, nobody listened. Everyone continued to go to the parties, everyone continued to celebrate with him.
With Diddy finally behind bars, more and more witnesses are coming forward with proof, including video evidence of his involvement in sexual abuse, assault, and even blackmail. Diddy's influence extended to the highest levels of government, and he was even reportedly connected to British royalty. His power and control were so vast that no one could speak out against him, as he had compromising information on everyone. The only reason Cassie was able to file a lawsuit against Diddy was because she leaked video evidence of her assault beforehand.
They bring in these people. A lot of these people were also aspiring young artists in the music industry. And then these parties were sponsored by Motown Records CEO, Universal Records CEO. This goes all the way to the top. And so you get these people in compromising situations. The drinks were laced, the videotapes were hot. And then at the end of the day, you wake up the next morning, what did I do? And then they have compromising material on you. And then they can guide your career. They could kill your career, but they got you. And it wasn't just people in the music business. As you said, there were athletes, there were celebrities, there were politicians, people from the royal family. And we were also told by the former bodyguard that Diddy was an FBI informant. Whoa. So he was a snitch and was feeding information to the feds. And we don't know what that means. We haven't been able to confirm it, but even Little Rod said it's not just like Epstein, it could be worse than Jeffrey Epstein.
As more tapes are released to the public, Diddy is growing increasingly worried, knowing that these tapes could incriminate him. Those around him are reportedly trying to distance themselves from the drama. Allegedly, Ellen DeGeneres has fled to America, and Ashton Kutcher is preparing to testify. 8 of Diddy's freak-off tapes have been handed over to the FBI by Courtney Burgess, a friend of Diddy's ex-wife. These tapes allegedly show multiple minors being abused by Diddy, with some appearing to be under the influence of drugs.
And those statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if
Appeared
they
to be.
were. Right.
Sure.
Appeared to
Let
be.
me rephrase
right.
it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence of
All
drugs?
of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appeared to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were all 8 were victimized.
Yeah.
Meaning
Victim.
this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they was doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
The best part about these tapes being made public is that Diddy can no longer escape the truth. The trial regarding his abuse is set to have a public hearing that will be televised, and if even one victim comes forward to name Diddy's accomplices, it could bring down all of Hollywood. We already know that Usher, Kevin Hart, and Ashton Kutcher were allegedly involved in the abuse conducted by Jay-Z and Diddy. It's only a matter of time before all the secrets are exposed.
We intend to name people in these lawsuits. We're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names, and you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case, because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public, and when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's, and I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
Diddy's own party planner, Tana Wallace, has come forward to expose the dark truths about Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. Allegedly, the main reason so many celebrities attended these events was because Diddy was reportedly inviting minors. Usher and Justin Bieber, both of whom attended these parties as minors, are now preparing to testify about their experiences. Additionally, Harvey Levin, the executive producer of TMZ, has revealed that he saw one of Diddy's freak-off tapes where it's clear that Diddy is abusing minors.
I want to start with Tania Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak-off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
It was very hard for her to say it, Ashley. So what she said was that she was flown out from LA to Miami by the Saudi prince, and they ended up eventually on Star Island at one of Diddy's parties. She says, among many other things, I mean, she goes into detail. This, she says, happened in 2018. She says that she walked into the house and there was a cluster of adults around what she described as little people. And they were dressed up as Japanese Barbies. I forgot the name. It's Harak something. You can help me out here. It's a certain type of Barbie. Anyway,
I know the name, but I've forgotten it. But go ahead.
So she explained that that they were just clustered around these little people, and I kept pushing her, and she eventually said, look, they are little people who should not be at an adult party. And I pushed her, and it was apparent what she was saying is they were minors. Now, she didn't see anything specific that was going on with them other than that adults were kind of huddled around them. But she told just a wild story about what was going on at the house, even at 7 in the morning, that this thing apparently raged all night long.
You know, it's amazing. TMZ always gets such great scoops, and this one might be one of your best as well. You got a hold of one of the freak-off tapes. Your producers have seen it. The description is, and I'll quote, "It's porn directed by Diddy himself." And a male sex worker really sort of walks through what happened in the experiences that he had. They didn't sound illegal, but they sure seem to comport with a lot of the other stories that have been told.
Yeah. So this was a threesome. What you would ask me about earlier about Tania Wallace, she said there were more than 100 people at that party, including at least 4 celebrities. But this, what you're talking about now, was a threesome, and that's something that the U.S. attorney even referenced. And his lawyer in an earlier documentary we did, he was describing threesomes. He says it was all consensual. So yes, what we're told is that this male sex worker was flown out to various locations over a couple of years: Miami, New York, Los Angeles, and one other. And they would meet in hotel rooms.
The same people who were once Diddy's closest friends are now preparing to testify against him, realizing that he can no longer escape justice. It's becoming clear that if things get worse for Diddy, he will likely try to shift the blame and snitch on anyone he can to avoid facing consequences. Diddy's career as a music producer is over, and his only remaining hope is to stay out of jail. The only way he might achieve that is by turning on someone else to save himself.
They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's some about the music, clothing, movies. They're not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them, and they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking, and they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Attorneys pursuing charges against Diddy have allegedly been threatened, with Ariel Mitchell, an attorney holding actual video evidence against him, reportedly receiving warnings from people close to Diddy. For her safety, she is now carrying a pistol. It's important to remember that Diddy has allegedly been involved in violent incidents in the past, including shooting and committing arson, which makes these threats all the more terrifying for those involved in the case.
Is your client fearful if Diddy does get out?
As you know, I represent other clients, actual victims who have sued Mr. Combs, Diddy, in civil court, and all of them are very apprehensive about their safety if he were to be granted bond. I am confident in the court. I am sure that the court will remain with their previous decision of no bond. I feel like the judge only gave this let me think about it just to not make it as obvious. But I have all the confidence in the world and the federal court in the state of New York that they will remain keeping Diddy under no bond, and that all of the victims in this case will be able to proceed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, you don't just represent this man, you represent other alleged victims too and people involved. Have there been any threats made against any of your clients?
There have been threats from people on the internet, but not from, at least what we don't know, from Diddy to be directly. So my clients have, Mr. Burgess has received several death threats. My client, Mrs. Parham, has been receiving threats, but we don't know if they're just regular people from the internet or if they're actually people who were sent by Diddy.
Do you have any idea where the threats are coming from? I mean, have you done any investigation?
Well, most of the investigation leads us to a lot of burner accounts on Instagram, and we're trying to now sift through possibly working with law enforcement to try to get subpoenas to determine the IP addresses of where those threats were emanating.
So, okay, interesting. We know that the cease and desist letter has now come. Has there been any other pressure of any kind that you or your clients have felt to stop talking?
In general, I feel that the gag order, when we talk about that, Mark Agnifilio wrote about me specifically, and also all of the other plaintiffs in the civil lawsuits to try to have all of us gagged. There's pressure every day that us continuing to talk about this is putting not only our lives in jeopardy, but could be potentially used against us in a gag order.
The real reason Diddy was able to evade law enforcement for so long is believed to be his powerful connections. Allegedly, figures like Obama, Trump, and even British royalty were all reportedly in his corner. In fact, Diddy was even given a key to New York City just months before his arrest, which raises questions about how he managed to avoid scrutiny for so long. Given these connections, this theory about his ability to escape justice for years seems to hold some weight.
That the judge was going to allow him to be bonded out on the first get-go. Now, if he comes up with some more hearings, he might be released. But based on the evidence, they've been following him, bro. They've been tapping his phone, been having people watch him. You understand? He been coming back and forth from New York, and he don't usually be coming back to New York. And somebody was telling me that, yo, listen here, yo, he trying to get witnesses. Remember when they released that first thing of Cassie, and I said that Diddy was trying to contact people for character witnesses, people for who he had problems with before, whatever like that, and trying to talk to them in the whole 9 yards. That's when they dropped that thing with Cassie. The Homeland Security had some agency or whatever like that that deals with that, dropped that thing on Cassie to show everybody, oh, y'all want to help him? Y'all, this is what y'all want to help? This is who y'all want to, say that he ain't never did nothing. This is what you want to put your brand on? And everybody started backing up from him. Everybody was talking about, yo, man, Cassie was a gold digger. Cassie was this, that, and the third. She loved it in the whole 9 yards. And then when they seen that, all his friends or so-called friends, went away. So him not having a bond is not surprising.
Yeah, and he offered them $50 million, and they still denied his bond.
He should have waited to see what they was going to offer. Because if he got $50 million to get him.
Even in prison, Diddy is reportedly trying to contact witnesses and paying people to pressure his victims into silence. He knows how bad things could get if all his victims speak out. Diddy is desperately trying to control the situation and avoid facing the full consequences of his actions.
The Southern District of New York, they took it upon themselves and put on that raid and everything based on the information they found in Cassie lawsuit and the information they found in Little Rod lawsuit. But all this is bigger than Diddy. It's bigger than Diddy, bro. Because you know who else they was doing investigation on during that whole time period? It was the mayor and the politicians in New York City. They turn around and give him the key to the city. All the mayor people that he brought on here in New York City are all resigning. They all resigning. People ain't gonna tie this together, but if you look at it, you have to say, because of Mayor Adams and his relationship with Diddy, it brought on the Southern District of New York to start investigating Diddy on civil lawsuits that was put against him. Because the feds is going after all these politicians in New York City.
With former allies turning against him, explosive testimonies coming to light, and a web of powerful connections crumbling, this story is far from over. As more shocking evidence emerges, it's clear that the truth is too big to hide. Stay tuned for our next update, where we'll dive deeper into the scandal that's set to shake Hollywood to its core.